You guys saw the tweet, right? We're talking about Daigo, of course, again. Of course, we got to talk about Daigo. That's what I run, the #1 Daigo reaction channel. So High Fight had this tweet here where he talked about the Daigo Aegis counter moment, and this was going around from the Japan Open tournament where Daigo had this really brilliant display of awareness for this counterplay to Yuri and Aegis. So if you notice this scenario, the big thing about this is Ryusei set up the mirror kind of spaced out from Daigo, and Ryusei is close to in chip range, so he's able to challenge and trade through the meter with the heavy kick. The heavy kick does a lot of hit stun or block stun, so it actually leaves Guile, or Daigo in this instance, way more plus to able to lock him down. And then he could use the super after chipping down enough with the sweep, and then set up the chip situation, get the super, and close the round. So really great awareness here from Daigo. But this, on its own, is not new. Clashing with the mirror, Daigo has done even back in like 2017. He debuted it. And even I talked about that, how I've used this in tournaments a couple times. Here's the 2017 instance where he first kind of showed using this. But there's a key difference actually here, which High Fight goes into, which is really interesting, which even I didn't know about. Urian's mirrors have different effects based on which version you do. If you do close mirror, I believe it does a pushback effect. It pushes you away. This is the close mirror, which will push the opponent away from the mirror when they clash with it. So you can kind of just mash your buttons. However, it's a bit different in this scenario. Yeah, so High Fight excellently breaks this down. So shout out to High Fight for being the GOAT. He does the far Aegis, which actually pulls you in and actually has a suction effect when it inflicts block stun or hit stun. It pulls you in. So you actually can't just mash your buttons and use this technique. You have to actually be aware of that and do something like this. See, Daigo walks back between every hit on purpose to create more space so that he doesn't get hit by the mirror. Because once you're too close to the mirror, you can't press your button. You need the mirror to be spaced out so that your button hits. You only intersect with it when your button is already active. If you don't walk back, you will get hit. If you walk back too far, though, it won't be a block string, or you might just whiff entirely, right? Like that's the other thing. So you have to kind of nail the spacing for it all to work out. So it's definitely some really in-depth knowledge from Daigo here to show, like, you know, some super matchup awareness and just have that one trick in your pocket for like the off chances happens in a match. And I didn't realize that. Like, I knew about the suction effects to an extent, but I never really thought about this technique to apply it in a match like that. So basically, whenever I dealt with mirrors, I kind of just indiscriminately mashed them. Most people usually do the back mirror to set this up, but I never ran into an instance with a mid mirror, so I never really knew about that. You know, I had a little short tweet here with a High Fight about that, how I didn't realize that, and I made this tweet saying, "Mans is a true professional," because I really do feel like Daigo is the embodiment of a true professional fighting game player. I feel like there's many super strong fighting game players in Street Fighter V, but I don't think there's many that are what I would consider a true professional who take this as a craft to the same degree as people like Daigo, right? Knowing these kind of interactions inside and out, prepping for every scenario like that, that to me makes a true professional. Which is funny I said that, because then FGC Translated put this video up about this moment saying Daigo's professionalism behind the optimal punish for Aegis Reflector. What's shared is 80%. I don't know if this is at all related to what I said, because he references High Fight's tweet. It's the exact same words I said. So in this, it's translated, so I'm going to speed it up as it goes through. He talks a lot about how people can have a lot of knowledge in games, but they don't necessarily share it all, or they can't share it. And knowledge for any profession is all out there, but even if it's all out there doesn't mean people know it and apply it. So he talks a lot about knowledge sharing and things like that. What this really got me thinking about was how many people write off situations as being rock, paper, scissors, cut and dry, or just completely disregarding tools. It's way too common that I see people discuss, especially a game like Street Fighter V, which by design is definitely more restrained to make you think critically about all options on the table. Many people constantly describe situations as being absolutely helpless, or pure 50-50s, or just complete guesses with absolutely no influence from the player. And I just feel like Daigo, and the way he discusses this and his demonstration with that Aegis mirror, means you need to look into these situations deeper than you currently are if you want to excel at fighting games. A really common example I hear in my comments since I did that most controversial change for Street Fighter V video about the DP changes, I've seen so many comments saying nobody does throw invincible DP. Nobody does frame 3 invincible DP. Like, I hear people writing it off like, oh, that's not a solution. Throw pressure is too strong. You have a DP that can beat throw. Oh, but it loses to meaties. Oh, pressure is too strong. Oh, here's a DP that will beat frame traps that beat your buttons, but will actually leave a gap enough for the heavy DP. Oh, that's too weak. It needs to beat everything. That's a very, very, very common statement and sentiment I hear in the Street Fighter V community all the time. People are not willing to even think for a second about the possibility of utilizing tools at their disposal because, you know, they're kind of just assuming situations are helpless. Yeah, they want an option to cover everything, and that doesn't exist in this game. I mean, it doesn't exist in any fighting game, really. Some fighting games have more generic options to cover many things, but if you want an option that covers everything, you're in the wrong genre. There's a reason why these options exist, and it's to get your opponent thinking about the options. And then once the opponent knows that you're representing these options, then there's the mind games involved. So it's just too common. I feel like people write things off with incomplete knowledge and they jump to conclusions about how things are. And, you know, like a big example to me, I know this is going to be very biased. I'll show an example of people making too many assumptions without actually looking at the tools available. I'm going to talk about Orozengif. I'm going to get a lot of people probably ragging on me in this comment section if this goes on YouTube. I think Zangief does great against Oro. And I used to think he was terrible against Oro because every Zangief player I played against before I played Danny Fam let me just spam fireballs nonstop. They let me just do whatever I wanted, and there was literally nothing that could be done in the matchup. It felt like I could do no wrong in this matchup. Then I played someone who actually looked at their tools critically and got me to reconsider what I was just thinking. So for some reason, when I play this matchup against Geefs online, the matchup generally just goes like this, where I'm just like throwing fireballs over and over, and it just feels like nothing can go wrong. And that's the end of the match, right? The Geef player tries to walk and block and get in, and nothing could happen at all. Until I met one who actually realized that once you get in range, I think it's like right here. Let's see. Once you're in range, I can't throw fireballs anymore. And you can do that on reaction. This is not something that's like super hard to do if you're focusing on it. There's a startup to this that's reactable. And it's like this range here, which is right outside buttons range for Geef. It's right outside all of Oro's normals ranges, and he can just lariat, because Oro has a very extended hurt box on the fireball compared to most other characters. So I was playing Danny Fam, and I was like, wait, my main tool that I was relying on and beating 99% of Geef players with does not work. I thought that my gameplay would consist of solely doing the fireballs, creating space, setting up V-skill, doing all that. Suddenly I'm getting knocked down by lariat nonstop and being put into the blender. And I'm like, oh, I need to reconsider what I'm doing at this range. At this range, I can't throw fireball, but I also can't hit him with any buttons. Suddenly, I'm playing the game like this. I'm trying to like play around Geef's buttons, and I have to get closer to Geef to actually play with him. I have to sit around here and do these kind of buttons on Zangief. And when that happens, then suddenly, you know, the matchup shifts. Suddenly I'm playing into Zangief's strengths. Zangief controls this range pretty hard with buttons like this. You know, like at this range, Zangief can press things. He has crouch jab, he has things to control, and if at any moment I throw a fireball, he just lariats. Suddenly I'm at Geef's optimal range and at his mercy because some person labbed one tool, and it made me have to reconsider how to approach the matchup. When I played other Zangiefs who did not know about this one interaction, it was 10-0 for Oro. 10-0. I played against Danny, and I was struggling. It was so hard. Danny's an amazing player, so I'm not going to say it's just only the matchup, but what I'm saying is the matchup changed because I played against a strong player who understood the interactions, labbed the nuances, and utilized the tool to turn the tide into his favor. He didn't look at it and go, it's helpless. There's no options here. There's nothing that can be done. He labbed the situation and changed my opinion on the matchup. And he would agree that the matchup is closer to 5-5. I just feel like too many people aren't doing the Daigo. Like, they don't realize that you can use your limited tool set to make great things happen in this game. If you don't critically think about situations and think about the tool sets that we have, you're going to be saying things that don't make sense. I hear so many people say that they don't use throw invincible DP, that people don't use these other kind of options. People do use these options. They do. Say worst comes to worst and Orozengif lands this SPD. Light Punch DP will beat the SPD loop. But not only does Light Punch DP beat the SPD loop, it also punishes going for back grab. Now, why would I want to have a punish for grab? Like, why would I want to wake up with something that beats SPD and grab? Why wouldn't I just jump? Okay. So let's see what happens if he tries to jump away. So jump away from the SPD. Yeah, you're good. What if he goes for a different option though? If Orozengif goes for the safer option of the throw, it lets him cover the jump away. The throw has less reward for Orozengif and you can tech it. If he lands a throw, it's not that much reward for him mid-screen compared to the SPD. But he knows that what it does is it punishes people for trying to jump. It gives him the coverage. So jump loses to regular throw and beats SPD. But the DP beats both. If I have no meter and the Orozengif player is not expecting me to go for such an option, this does not just get away from the throw tech, it beats both options. There is a mind game here. There's a situation where this can dissuade Gif from going for this option entirely or catch them off guard for not knowing. You have more options at your disposal. Then, once you condition them to possibly respect this sort of thing, they might start going for meaties instead. Maybe then you block and do a heavy DP, right? Maybe then you start implementing more backdashes on wake up because they're going to try to do tighter meaties. Maybe at that point they start doing delay back throw or something, you start waking up with jab. It keeps pushing the meta forward between you two players in that current set. But if you don't use your options, the game doesn't evolve, right? Whatever results you're getting are just going to stay that way. You need to use options. And I'm tired of people saying that you have no options when you aren't using them. You aren't thinking about it. It's so many people I see on YouTube saying these sorts of things. And you know, I read too many YouTube comments. That's my personal sin here. But if you're guilty of this, please stop to consider what options are on the table. Don't write things off if you don't fully understand it. Sometimes you want to copy paste what good players are doing just to get a feel for it, and maybe through osmosis later on you'll understand intuitively when to do it. But you need to pay attention to what's going on. There's a reason why players are able to separate themselves and establish consistency in results and you know, do good in this game consistently. This game is not random. This game is not, you know, no options anywhere. Once you get hit, it's over. That's not how it works. Use the tools, you know, be like Daigo a little bit. If you want to see results, be a little bit more professional.